friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 59 of the podcast. I'm so grateful to be with you today, and it seriously still just amazes me how we're able to connect through this podcast. So thank you for listening. And if you're new to the show, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I am joined by my good friend, Hannah Ueckert. Hannah is an incredible dancer and is now working full-time as the operations manager with Mako Dance alongside Meggie Belisle in College Station. Meggie was on episode 26, and we got to hear kind of the backstory behind Mako. And today I love hearing from Hannah, her perspective of the work that Mako is doing, and just the impact that art can make on our lives and the lives of those around us. Hannah and I met while we were both dancing for Deum dance company, and since then she's done a lot of teaching at various studios, as well as working behind the scenes with communications, stage managing, assistant stage managing, and event coordinating. She also performed with Open Sky Arts Collective for 5 years before beginning her work with Mako Dance. In our conversation, we dive into the topics of dealing with injury and also what it looks like to slow down intentionally and work on quieting the noise that we are bombarded with in our everyday lives. Doing that really just helps create space for us to listen to the Lord, and I love Hannah's heart for drawing near to God. Enjoy my conversation with Hannah Ueckert. I'm super excited that we get to have a conversation for the podcast and just have a conversation.
Oh my gosh. I am just so stinking honored, to have even been asked. I'm like, man, yeah, of course I will. Yeah.
So fun. Well, I'm super honored to have you because it's just so awesome seeing the work that you've been doing. And seriously, just it's kind of funny to say this, but it's bad because with social media, we feel like we stay in touch with people that we don't really actually stay in touch with. But in a way, it is nice because we get to kind of follow each other's journeys a little bit. And I'm always just super encouraged by your posts on social media. So I appreciate that.
Oh, well, that's great to hear because I definitely, I mean, that's always great to hear when somebody says that. So thank you.
Yeah. So I'm glad I've been able to keep a little eye on what you've been doing, but I'm super excited that we actually get to dive a little deeper and catch up today. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
Yay.
So fun.
Yes. So for those who are listening, basically, this is Hannah. And Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and just share a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now?
Totally. So my name is Hannah Ueckert. I am a native Texan who grew up dancing. I mean, my mom said I came out of the womb dancing.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and I like to call myself a Jane of all trades, but I definitely like to pursue other things aside from just dancing.
Yeah.
But I think my first love for sure is movement. I think I'll always be moving. I kind of hope that I'm the grandma on Moana, later on, she's dancing with the stingray. So I just pray that that's my life when I'm older, is that I'm dancing amongst the trees.
Yeah.
That would be ultimate goal of mine.
Yes. Goals. I love that. And Moana, just a great movie.
Right.
Love the music.
Give it a moment of appreciation.
Yes. A moment.
Man.
Moana. Love it. And just Disney in general. It's
right.
Such a huge part of our lives.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, just Hannah Ueckert, little Texan dancer here.
So fun. Yay. Well, it's super cool because I think we first met through Deum, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Deum was when we officially first met. I don't know if we had done any intensives or anything before that, but I think Deum was our thing.
Yeah, which was super fun. So we got to live life together. And I love that with Deum. And I feel like people that have been listening to the podcast for any length of time have probably heard me talk about Deum, but just the the community element there. And it's really cool because you get to really live life together and grow together in that season. So it's super special.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was 17 when I joined.
Yeah.
And I remember you were, I guess they did a big sister, little sister thing, but you were my hey, I'll answer any questions for you.
Yeah.
And so I just remember being young, wanting to dance and driving all the time.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I mean, I think I drove like 2 hours to get there every morning
Wow.
and then drove 2 hours back, like just
Whoa.
commuted.
That's
But
commitment.
it was probably one of my, dude, for sure. But I think it was like, that was such a pivotal time for me as a dancer and as a believer and as a woman,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to believe that you were 17 then.
Right. I forget that. I'm like, oh yeah, I was still in high school.
Yeah. So amazing. Well, just because, I mean, you have such a beautiful spirit and heart and maturity about you. And so just to think like, wow, I don't know that it really dawned on me that you were 17, but that's super cool. Yeah.
I remember we had to sign a permission for one of the events we did. You were like, oh, actually, can you actually sign this or get your parents to sign this? Because I was underage.
That's right. That's so funny.
Oh, yeah. Minors.
Right. So funny. That's awesome. Well, good times for sure. And we'll probably get more into it in a little bit too, like those experiences.
Yeah.
But do you want to kind of rewind back to, again, kind of when you first got into dance? You said you basically have been dancing like since you were born. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about kind of like your training years growing up? And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I started dancing with Excelsior School of Dance, and my mom's friend who we went to church with told my mom about them. And I think if my mom's friend hadn't have said that, then I don't know if I would be the dancer I am today, because my mom didn't want to just throw me into a studio that was, you know, MTV shaking their booties type of situation. She really wanted me to worship the Lord and dance in excellence.
Right.
So Excelsior School of Dance opened up, or they had been open, or but the opportunity for us opened up. And so I started there at age 5 and danced there till I think I was like 15.
Okay. Yeah.
So I spent like the majority of my child years there, performing wonderful shows like Narnia and Stories. I met your husband, Ben.
Yes, that's right.
Such a funny, I knew him before I knew you.
That is so funny. I know. I was actually about to ask you, okay, do you remember taking, I guess, theater classes with Ben?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Back in the day.
That was so great. Some of my favorite times.
Yes.
He was so great to my family and my sisters and my mom, like that whole family, you know, the Caldwells are just such a great family.
Yes. Now, obviously now they're my family, but I love them so much too. They're just great people.
Right. Yeah.
So fun.
But yes, so I danced at Excelsior for 10 years. And then I went to Payne Academy of Performing Arts to pursue a more classical route in a different element. So like Nutcracker, Coppelia, Sleeping Beauty, all of those.
That's kind of my experience as well in high school, middle school, high school is sort of all the classics. So that's really fun. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite ballet?
Probably Nutcracker. Yeah. I think it just brings up so many, like a good Nutcracker. Right. Everybody has their own, but I was so biased to that one. It like really solidified the seasonal feelings.
Yes, it really did. It's true. It's like weird to have Christmas without the Nutcracker sometimes, you know, or the holiday season. So for sure. That was really fun.
That was a favorite.
Yes.
For sure.
Very cool. So it really was like a couple years before you started with Deum.
Yeah, I think I counted it in Nutcrackers. Tells you how much I really liked them. But I think I did 3 Nutcrackers with the Paynes. Okay. And then I came to Deum.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. And definitely, how many years did you say at Deum for?
You know, only that 1 year, but it definitely, when I talk to people, and I think it's just because, you know, once when you're in Deum, you know, you're with family and friends and, you know, all the Christian dancers, like I feel like we all touch base with Deum at least once in our career.
Yes, whether it's an intensive or at Project Dance or something. Yeah.
Or a friend of a friend and you go take a class or like, you know, everybody.
It's a big family for sure.
There. Oh, for sure. So I definitely feel like I danced there way longer than 1 year.
Yeah.
But I was only there for that one season.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I know.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like time is weird.
Yeah. Because it definitely felt way more than one season in a good way, you know?
Right.
Like I look back at it and I'm like, oh, was it really only 1 year?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned that it was a really pivotal time. Do you want to share a little bit more about the why behind that?
Always.
Sweet.
What made that year pivotal for me was coming out of high school and coming from being a young dancer and a young artist and a pre-professional artist to, having to dive in with all of the professionals, I definitely had to, pick up my backpack and run and like learn how to move quicker and learn how to observe better and learn how to trust the Lord more. And I think Deum and Randy really opened that door, and it was a really safe and good place for me to actually, grow up, I guess is the best way to say it, with like commuting, finding teaching jobs, teacher hopping. I mean, there was just a lot of elements that I had to stand up really strong in. And so I will always look back at that year as like one of the years that I grew up in many elements in many areas of life.
Yeah, that's like such a good perspective. Yeah. So what was your next step after Deum?
So after Deum, I started stepping back from dancing and I just pursued teaching. So I taught at Bonnie's for a while, and then the Paynes actually brought me back onto their staff to teach.
Oh, cool.
And that was just huge in my heart and in my life. And I learned so much with them in areas such as like stage managing and event coordinating and running rehearsals, and pretty much doing everything that I do now is what I learned from the Paynes with my time there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So getting to restage Nutcrackers, do all the stuff that I now like love doing.
Yeah.
Was with them.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think it's probably common, I feel like, for a lot of dancers to kind of shift into that teaching role pretty early on, or to be doing it simultaneously, like you said, like doing all the things at the same time. So yeah. And did you find there was any struggle internally from shifting from like more performance to teaching, or not really for you?
I don't think, not really. I mean, I think I definitely missed it.
Yeah.
But I definitely fell in love with the other side of it all pretty quick. All the elements of everything is super fun for me.
Yeah, that's great, because I think it can be a hard transition, but I'm glad that it was really like something that you were loving and enjoying.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So what was your next phase, I guess, then?
Yeah. So I taught with the Paynes, and then I just continued teaching for a while. And I actually, while teaching with the Paynes and even Bonnie's, I was dancing with Open Sky Arts Collective.
Oh, yeah.
And working with Jenna Vance.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, and then it was like super small project based, and then it grew into a couple days a week. And then, man, by like my last year with Open Sky, I think they were meeting like 4 or 5 days a week.
Wow. Yeah.
So it just grew really quick in 4 years.
Definitely kind of seeing their journey has been pretty amazing. Like, wow, from the project stuff. And I guess that's similar to probably even how like Deum started and stuff, where it kind of builds, up to a full-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so fun watching companies do that and prosper. And you see like, you just see the growth and you see the fruit, and it's just fun. For me to watch.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I danced with Open Sky and did a lot of what I do, like in the sense of assistant stage managing, event coordinating, and helping along with the operations with them. And then I transitioned to Mako.
Awesome. Which is who you're with now currently, correct?
Yes. I'm currently with Mako Dance now. Awesome. Directed by Meggie Belisle. So, which you did an interview with her, right?
Yes. Yeah, I did a little while back. I'll have to look up what the episode was, but I'll link it in the show notes, because that was really fun to hear kind of her journey with Mako and, kind of how it all got started. So really fun.
Yeah, that was, it's been really fun. And we've done a ton of work this past year, and really like COVID did well for Mako. We just did a lot of performances in backyards, and it just was really sweet how Mako launched, in the midst of the pandemic, and how not only did it launch well, but it also like produced fruit and did well.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. And I'm excited to hear like more about what's happening currently and kind of the things that you've done there. But while we're still kind of on the journey, I guess, what would you say are some of maybe the most impactful or memorable moments for you throughout like your training and early years professionally?
Man, I have a ton of impactful moments.
Yeah.
But some of them I think would be definitely the traveling, like the mission work.
Yeah. Was that with Ballet Excelsior?
Yeah. So I did it with Ballet Excelsior, and then I did it with Deum Dance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I went to China with Excelsior. That was really fun, going to China. And I was so young too. I was like 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. what a treat.
Yeah, for real. That's pretty epic, especially at that age. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it was a super treat. And I definitely don't take for granted that trip and that opportunity. I'll never take for granted that. It was just, not many 12-year-olds can say that they like got to climb the Great Wall and dance, a little 8 counts in Tiananmen Square, and like travel pretty much like we started at the top of China, and then we made our way pretty much like a lightning bolt down and ended up on the southern part of it.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just epic. Like you said, it was amazing. I wish I remembered more. I was just so young and probably just was so much.
Trying to like soak it in. Like a sponge. So was that your first time being out of the country, like international travel?
It was. Yeah. It was actually my first time on a plane too.
Oh.
So I got like the little plane wings that go on your jacket.
Yeah. That's so cool. And kind of crazy I'm just like thinking of my own experiences to have your first time on a plane to be on an international trip where I'm sure it's like, I don't know how many hours, probably over 10.
Right. Yeah. I can't even remember.
Wow. So it's like, all right, you're all in.
Man, I was committed.
Yeah. So you're not just flying like Houston to Dallas or something.
Right. No. I loved every second of it. That was probably when my heart was like, oh, I can do this. I dig this.
Yeah.
Like I dig this, in the sense of traveling and dancing and helping other people travel and dance. Like I just can get behind that pretty well.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. Any other ones stand out to you?
Yeah. Probably the Spain trip with Deum. That would be my other like super, just one of those man, that was good. It was rough. Anybody who went on that trip and anybody who knows of that trip knows that it was a really rough trip for us, but the fruit of it was beautiful and amazing. So, and I will never take that one for granted either, nor do I regret any of it. Or if I could do it all again, I would. Like I grew so much on that trip, and my faith grew and friendships grew, and it just was totally the Lord. And that whole trip was accomplished by the grace of the Lord, which made me lean into him more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of in those times sometimes where we have the most, I don't know, opposition or obstacles or something, or just challenges. Yeah. That it's sort of like, we have to lean into who he is, and also like knowing that we couldn't do it in our own strength, I guess. So there's a lot of beauty in that, even though it's like really hard. So.
Yeah. By the end of that trip, it was like, man, I am nothing without the Lord, period.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. It's fun to hear some of those experiences and where you've been able to kind of travel and see the world, which is super cool. Yeah. So now I guess let's dive a little deeper into Mako, because I'm curious to hear more about what the work you guys are doing and kind of catching up since we talked to Meggie last. So did you join with her like from the very beginning?
No, I had, so Mako had been around for about, well, I feel like I should know the exact detail of this, so don't quote me on it, but I think Mako had been around for about 5 years.
Okay. Cause she had kind of started it like in New York, I think. And then, okay. Yeah. So it had been rolling.
Yeah. So it started as a project base, and she did in New York, and then she came down here, and then I joined her in 2018 on a project down here.
Cool.
And danced with her. And I didn't really know Meggie then. Like I knew of her, and we had shared a studio and an intensive, one of those, like, I know this person through this person, through this person, through Deum type of situations.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah.
But after that, let's see. Yeah, I guess last year we had gotten a little closer. She came and did a project with Open Sky, and we got close through that project. And then last year I just was like, hey, can I help you in whatever area you need help with? She said yes, and here I am.
That's so cool. So what is your role currently with the company?
So I call myself the operations manager.
Nice.
And that's what she calls me too. But basically I'm a dancer as well in the company, but most of the times I usually edit all the music and the interviews.
Oh yeah.
So I'll put together all her audio.
That's pretty detailed in this case, I would imagine, because it's like, yeah, with interviews, it's not just editing, like typical dance teachers or whatever. We're editing music a lot, but to add in editing like the interviews and piecing together in a way that fits with the message that you're trying to bring to the audience, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess for people who don't know what we mainly do.
That would be great if you want to share a little bit.
Yeah. So we, Mako exists to listen. So we want to honor those by telling stories. So we honor those who have gone through, primarily right now, we tell stories of cancer survivors or cancer patients or people who've lost a loved one to cancer.
Yeah.
So we interview them and family members, and we lace over their interviews to music. And then we basically build a piece or a show telling the story or the legacy and honoring that said person.
Mm-hmm. Super powerful.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it before, to be honest. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot of extra detail thought and stuff to, like you were saying, cutting interviews is not just splicing and cutting. There's a lot of elements, as you know.
Yeah, probably very similar to podcast editing. So, hey, there's another job for you if you ever need one.
Oh, I know. Put that on my little list of the Jane of all trades.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome. But yeah, it's so powerful. I remember I got to go see one of the, I don't know.
Oh, I think you came to the Houston one.
Yes.
Because I think I danced in that one as well.
Yeah, I believe you were in that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was so
good.
Yeah,
because I remember you were there.
Yeah, that was super powerful. And I feel like, was that like 2019, 18?
Yeah, I think it was 2018.
Okay. Yeah. Again, time is weird right now.
Right?
Like,
it's so weird.
Where's the last 2 years? I don't really know. So
I have no clue.
Yep. But yeah, that was super powerful. And I don't think I had seen anything quite like it either. So it was neat to see kind of that vision coming across and just the heart behind it and the heart of each of the dancers and, you know, in the choreography. And yeah, I can imagine that it's obviously, you know, music is such a huge part of dance anyways, but yeah, it's like the whole production is so powerful when you put all those elements together.
Yeah. Something about lacing someone's words on top of music and it not being like 5, 6, 7, you know, it's not scripted or planned. Like it kind of just reminds us that we're human and kind of brings some reality into the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, what have been some of your favorite moments working with Mako?
Oh gosh, I have so many. But I have so many moments in life. I love moments.
That's so great. I know you're one of those people that I love being around because of how you just love soaking things in and like enjoying and being present. I think that's what it is. It's just that you're very present in the moment and it's so good. I think we all need to, I don't know, remember to do that more. So.
Yeah. It definitely makes life fun when you just embrace each moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so moments for Mako, man, there's so many in the sense of I love the interview process. I've loved even all the editing process, like when something clicks and like that swell of music laces right when the words end or right when the words beginning, like seeing all that fall into place is really, really beautiful for my mind. Even the shows that we did this past year, Story Lanes, and we did one in the spring for a woman. We called it, it was called Becca, A Story of Surrender. All of those are so beautiful and the moments within them, because like the people that you're honoring are there watching their story unfold in front of them. And there's just something about that whole moment that is, I mean, it's a moment that's worth putting in your heart, putting on your, you know, your shelf of memories in your mind. Like, I just don't ever want to let go of seeing those people's faces and like seeing their story come to life.
Yeah. Somebody that I recently interviewed, Hannah Newman-Pan, and she works with Shining Light Ministries, which is like they go into prisons and they'll work with the incarcerated people to help tell their story, or at least recently they did a project where they were helping during the pandemic. It was actually like they would, you know, talk over the phone or over Zoom or something. And then there would be an artist who would help put together something that was related to their story. And it just sounds like something so profound and very life-changing, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of a similar heart, but in a different way, a different realm, which is cool.
Yeah. Which I think like storytelling, like we as dancers, we get so caught up in wanting to interpret and be abstract and, you know, put out what is like on our mind instead of like, man, there's so many people in this world that has a story worth telling.
Yes.
It would be fun to see more of that.
Yeah.
In every element, you know, whether it's telling stories and honoring those who have gone through cancer, or telling, you know, like the Shining Light Ministries, or even just telling like how somebody got engaged through a dance. Like that would just be so fun to see.
That's so true. Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in storytelling in general. And yeah, like you're saying, it would be really cool to see that incorporated more into the dance world. So, and I think it's probably because you can kind of, I don't know, latch on to like a deeper purpose or something.
Yeah. And it's relatable, it's something that you can back behind, or you can come alongside. You're like, man, okay, yeah, no, I get it.
Or like, I've experienced that kind of thing.
It's like a testimony.
Yes.
So let's just
true.
tell our testimonies through dance. Yes. Let's just make that a thing now. Everybody.
Okay. Yes. Now it's the thing. So yeah, but that's so true though. I think some of the most powerful times I've had it as a choreographer is when it's not just like, about me, when it's,
what do you want to create? What's on your mind?
But yeah, when it's bringing in that element of helping to share someone's story, or there's more to it. So that's cool. Well, actually that segues really well into just thinking about how the arts impact people, whether it's like the people creating it or people watching or reading or that kind of thing. And I'm curious, just from your experiences, how you've seen the arts impact other people.
Yeah, just in general, or with the Mako storytelling.
Either one or both actually would be cool.
Well, I'll go with the Mako storytelling first, just because that's been the most recent ones.
Perfect.
But I think I've seen so much healing, and this is one of the hearts behind Mako, is seeing so much healing come through people hearing their stories and hearing the trials they went through, and not belittling it or anything. They just see the reality, and then healing comes forth. There's just been a lot of healing that has come forth by people hearing their own stories.
That's so cool.
And I don't know, I'm not going to act like I know what element brings forth that or how that works. I mean, I just want to lean back and say, Lord, it's all you, because it is how he orchestrates that, and how he weaves that, and how he heals. I mean, I have no say in how the Lord's going to heal. He's God, not me. So it's fun to see how he chooses to heal hearts and minds, and, heal broken spirits and stuff.
Yeah, so true.
And that's fun to see. And I guess that trails into the arts in general, just seeing how the Lord uses arts in the sense of music, painting, even things we're kind of a crafty family. So even things like my mom makes soap. So how her soap brings forth joy and hope and, fellowship, all these little things that sometimes we take for granted, the arts kind of just help keep alive, in the sense of fellowship and community and hope. And
that's so true.
It's just fun seeing the arts, and especially dance, bring forth that wonder that I think we tend to forget in the reality of life, in the 9-to-5 life that most people, and even most of us live.
Right. Yeah. So true. We can kind of get caught up in the tasks, the to-do list, just getting a paycheck or whatever, and kind of don't realize how huge it is to have those moments where we're connecting, and where we're, being filled up too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to know. Well, maybe not just fun. It's reassuring to know that the Lord is a fan of the arts in every way, shape, and form.
True.
Not just dance, but as I'm sitting here outside looking at my mom's garden, and the clouds rolling in for a little storm, and the trees blowing in the wind, all of that is art in its own way.
So true.
And so it's just so sweet that the Lord presents art in ways that anybody can relate to.
Yeah.
It's not just dance.
Exactly. Yeah. I was watching recently. I'm a fan of HGTV, but I was watching Hometown Takeover. So it's the hometown people, but they go to, I don't know if you've seen it. That could be.
I haven't.
Okay. So basically they go and they help kind of revitalize a small town in Alabama.
Ooh.
And so it's pretty cool just watching their process. And of course it's every episode's a tearjerker, just because the way, the music and the way that they do it,
all the elements.
But it's pretty cool. And it's neat. She said, I think it's Erin is one of the main people, but she says something about kind of that, the power of art in a community, and how it can really help a community come to life, and bring hope to people. So whether that's like a mural painted on a wall or just the color, the vibrancy and things, that it brings that element of kind of hope in life into a place.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like when functionality gets revitalized, like that can be art as well, in the sense of like, when your roads get repaved, like it's new pavement and it's new and it's functional and it just kind of livens up everything, livens up your life. So then you're more creative. And then I don't know, there's just so many elements that as I'm stepping further away from the professional dance life and more on the outskirts, like it's just fun to see. Anytime I think I have a good revelation of art, I'm like, oh no, there's more.
Yeah. So I know that you had mentioned to me your journey with dealing with an injury. I know that can be very world shaking in a way, especially as a dancer. Yeah. So would love to hear kind of what that looked like for you in your life.
Oh, for sure. I mean, any dancer, most all of us go through injuries at some point.
Right.
And I'm so grateful that mine didn't result in surgery at all, which it probably should have in some areas, but nonetheless, it was definitely a really hard time for sure. I mean, I couldn't even like get out of a chair without help. I had sprained both my knees.
Oh, wow.
Dancing. And so and I'm one of those people that just, I want to do things. You say you want a double pirouette, I'm going to go for the triple. Like that's just who I am as a dancer. And so when you can't even get out of a chair, it's a little ground shaking and, it just kind of takes the wind out of you for a second. So, I mean, I tell anybody this, it's like, I definitely had my middle finger up to dance for, most of that time. I was just upset and I was angry and I was already starting to feel like not being done with dance, because I don't feel like I'm done with dance, but I was already starting to feel the tug to more of the admin operations side. So I was like, well, Lord, if you wanted it to happen, like you didn't have to completely take me now. Like, we didn't need a KO. But yeah, so what should have been like a 4-month recovery ended up being like 2 years.
Wow.
In the sense of I couldn't like grand plie at all. And there's still some things I can't do. Like I can't grand allegro or do epic floor work or even grand plie in 5th position. Like that's just something that I like am now totally fine with and have put on the shelf and, trust the Lord. And so it's a sweet spot now where I'm at, but definitely for that, like, I think it was early 2019 when it happened. So pretty much between 2019 and like, well, I guess maybe not 2 years, right under 2 years.
Okay.
Right about summer last year.
Yeah.
I just didn't function well mentally, physically. It was just rough. But the Lord was good. And I think in that, like, me throwing a fit with him and just being down and out. And when COVID happened though, like that was kind of the Lord, like, all right, you need to get yourself together. Like, stop. We're going to just have a break. Like, it's time for you to break up with dance right now and just come back with me. Like, we ain't having any more of this.
Yeah.
And so I was really grateful for the pandemic as an artist, because it definitely took me away from that performance mentality and that I need to just get over it and like do better mentality. So when COVID hit, I was stuck at home. I had nothing to do but be with my family and heal. So
yeah, that's kind of forced recovery time, forced healing.
Yeah. And in that, so many other elements happened. That's when I started with Mako. And so there wasn't quite as much demand on my body because it was more of my brain, which I love. I love using my brain in the arts. And then I like started biking and slowly recovering in ways that didn't feel like I was pressuring myself into being ready by this next piece type of mentality. So
that's good.
So I know all of that kind of was probably rabbit trails, but I think anybody who has an injury, it feels like rabbit trails on the recovery.
Yes, I can imagine. Like, oh man, yeah, it's definitely a journey. And I'm sure there's days where you're like, okay, I feel like I have a more positive outlook on this. And then days where it's like, this is the worst, and yeah.
It's kind of like the Inside Out characters. You got the little joy
yes.
girl, and then you got the little blue one. And, sometimes it's day by day. Sometimes it's week by week. Sometimes it's like hour by hour.
Yeah. Sure.
And by then you just have to, let God, you just got to let him do his thing.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how has your perspective on dance and on just life as a whole, I guess, been impacted by your processing through the injury and kind of coming through that healing?
Yeah. I think that injury just brought on a lot of awakening and like ground shaking things for me, because reality had hit that I'm not going to be a famous professional dancer who's still able to do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So when that reality hit, there was like also a little bit of a faith crisis.
Yeah.
As is most of the time with injuries. And I think I just was able to really pull back, not like a healthy, like a little bit of a pullback, but I was able to pull back really far. And I mean, really, it wasn't even me pulling back. It was definitely the Lord grabbing me by my armpits. And he was like, and it's time.
Right. Good imagery there.
That's pretty much how it is all my life. It's just the Lord grabbing my armpits. Like, nope, never mind, over here. You don't need to say that. Come back.
So good.
But I just was able to definitely lean more into him and just really surrender more of what I thought even fellowship with him was like and what dancing with him was like. And
yeah,
I know that my perspective has definitely changed a ton, and probably more and than we can probably talk about and more in depth than, I'm still even figuring out how to verbalize exactly what all happened in that healing time. But
yeah,
I do know that I'm grateful for just the Lord and his sovereignty and his fortress love. And I'm grateful for like his word in the Bible, and that I don't have to guess on what he says or what he means.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to go back to the root, like being pulled from dance. I've been able to just simplify a lot of life.
Yeah.
And so even just going back to the root of like, I just want the Bible, like not even worship music. I don't want what people are interpreting from the Bible. I simply just want, what does the Lord say? And just be with that right now. So that's definitely where I'm at, and that came out of that journey and is translating into my life as a dancer and as an artist. Is like, I don't want to, who am I to interpret anything just because I want to interpret it? Like I want what the Lord says.
Yeah.
And I want, I don't want to sugar up anything, because he's holy and he's sovereign.
Right.
So it's been fun to, like, I say fun, it's been a little hard.
Yeah, we use fun a lot, don't we?
But we do. And I think it's a little self-defense mechanism. But it's been amazing, actually, to just step back and like really detox a ton of things from my life. Because as an artist, we tend to fill our life with music and with other artistic things. And I definitely found that was drowning out or cluttering up what I really needed, which was just the word of God, period.
Nice. That's so good. It'll speak for sure. So there was something that you wrote, because for those that are listening, when I'm like prepping for interviews, I'll get some information from my guests beforehand, getting a little behind the scenes here, but something that exactly something that you wrote, Hannah, was so beautiful. I was like, oh, I definitely want to touch on this briefly at least. But you said, I wouldn't be the woman I am without my 8 years dancing, and I wouldn't be the dancer I am without the other elements in my life. And I loved that a lot, because it's so true, because it's like it all is working together. And especially as artists, we can tend to put so much identity in our art form, whether that's like, I'm a writer, I'm a dancer, I'm a musician or whatever. And yes, that's totally like a huge element of who we are and what we do. But I love that idea that it's all working together, and it's feeding kind of different elements of our lives. So yeah,
I definitely felt a little poetic when I wrote that. I'm not gonna lie.
It was so nice. I was like, wow.
I was like, ooh, girl, good job there. But yeah, no, I would not be who I am without dance, like at all. That's just a part of how my heart moves. That's a part of how, like I said at the beginning, like, man, I sure hope I'm the Moana grandma, like just dancing about when I'm older. But I also wouldn't be the dancer I am without all of the other elements in my life. And so it's just been interesting. And I I definitely don't want to say like, hi, I'm Hannah Ueckert, a dancer.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more
Mm-hmm.
in who we all are. You know, you're not just Rachel Caldwell, former dancer, podcast, epic person who does all these epic interviews with all these epic people. Like, you know, you're a wife and you're like Rachel Caldwell. Period.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to that. So I think it's just been a journey in detaching, you know, Hannah Ueckert, a dancer,
Right.
detaching that from the end of my name.
Yeah.
Putting Hannah Ueckert, period, and then letting the Lord like color in my name with who he says I am. So it's not just black outline of Hannah Ueckert. It's, you know, favorite colors of blue and like all these little sceneries of what makes me me. And it's not just a tutu around my name.
Right. Exactly. I like that though.
So
that'd be cute.
Yeah, right. I'm sure I had a Hannah with a tutu around my name as a 5-year-old.
Yes.
At some point in my life.
So great.
Which is probably why that picture came so easily to me.
I can definitely picture it.
Yep.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we kind of start to wrap up here, I'm curious, is there something that you'd like to share with other artists? I like to ask everybody that when they come on.
That's always such a sweet question. I enjoy hearing everybody's answers when I listen to these.
At some point, I'm hoping I can compile all those answers because that would be kind of cool.
Oh, I can help you with that.
Ooh, thanks. That'd be super cool.
Man, something to say to the other artists. I'd say don't be afraid to stop, in the sense of like, man, if you're just a go-getter and you're going and you're like pushing for the Lord and you're like running 100 miles per hour and you're on fire, like don't be afraid to stop for a second and like turn off all the music, take a break from everything and just sit down with the word and like just read what God is like and read about who God is. And that, I mean, this is me speaking to Christian artists. And I'd say just don't be afraid to like, even if your friends keep going and your company keeps going and your colleagues keep going, like if you need a time to just stop and turn off everything and just sit, do it. Cause it's super sweet. Super uncomfortable at first. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, but there's something special when you turn off everything and just sit with the word. And don't do it just for 5 minutes. Like give yourself a good season of doing that. Like do a full detox of everything and just go back to the basics and see what he does. It's a pretty awesome journey.
Love that. Thanks for sharing. That's so good.
Yeah.
So one question that I like to throw in at the end for fun is, what is one of your favorite things right now?
One of my favorite things?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I have so many favorite things. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to be I got a comforter from Target and I'm not going to lie, the color of it and everything is probably one of my favorite elements in my life right now because it brings me so much joy.
That's
and
awesome.
It is a form of art in and of itself.
Yeah.
So
it's not a small thing because we're like in our beds a good bit of our lives. So
exactly. So I want, it's something that's going to bring creativity. And man, the color of this comforter is fine.
That's awesome. So what like color family is this in?
Oh gosh, it's like in that like maroony, like hippie red terracotta family.
Nice. Yes, I can definitely
pretty much
envision
the color of my soul.
So cool.
All the hippie colors.
That's a perfect favorite thing right now.
Yes.
So great. So practical too,
Right. You got to love the simple functional things, man. A comforter that brings you joy is worth talking about.
For sure. So I would love to let people get in touch with you if they're interested in kind of connecting. So what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So honestly, my Instagram is probably the best thing right now. Cool. I am planning to grow with a website eventually based on some key things in my life. So honestly, if people just want to follow my exciting journey of whatever the Lord has in store, they should just find me on the Instagram.
That sounds awesome.
And then I'm always, on the Mako stuff. So they can definitely find out more about the dancing side through Mako.
Amazing. Very cool. I'll definitely link to those on the website. And like I said, I'm circling all the way back to the beginning, but I enjoy following you on Instagram. So everyone else, you should check her out. It's fun.
It'd be fun to see all y'all there.
Yes. Well, Hannah, thank you so much. This has been so awesome getting to catch up and hear kind of where you're at right now and just coming out of this kind of crazy 1.5 season. So
yeah,
yes, I appreciate you. You guys, wasn't Hannah amazing? I just love her beautiful heart and the way that she just exudes joy and love to everybody that she's around. You can find all the links that we talked about today in the full show notes, as well as additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, it would mean the world if you would just take a few moments to rate and review the show in whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening on. You can also check out our Patreon community. The Patreon platform is a really cool way for you to get bonus content in return for helping to support the show. There's bonus content from over 20 episodes that you can find on Patreon, so I'd encourage you to check it out. Thank you so much for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Until next time, remember that you were designed to create, made to inspire. Continue living with purpose and making an impact. See you next time, friends.